Hi, my name is Tessa, and I'm an artist and garden designer living in upstate South Carolina, so that's Zone 8A. I'm also a mama to two very active little boys, so my time in the garden is really limited and very precious. With that in mind, I'm going to take you along for a journey of what I'm doing in the garden every month, in those snatches of time, what it's possible to do with just a little bit of time every week. The space we're in now is what I call the cutting garden. And I hope that this is actually a little bit encouraging for you because it's a mess. And it's really quite small. So when we started out at this property a few years ago, this little patch right here that we're in now was all bad grass and mostly weeds. At first, I planted annuals in here because I couldn't afford to do a lot of planting all at once. So I started annuals from seed, hence the name The Cutting Garden. Since then, it's become mostly perennials. I had two kids, was working a full-time job, and so you can see here, these are the seed heads of echinacea. Most of the garden area in this spot is given over to perennials. But this year, I think I want to revert a little bit and do some more annual planting. So the things that I'm going to be doing in the garden this month are cleaning back some of what you see as just big, overgrown, dead plant material. But I'm not going to cut it back all the way. So on something like this echinacea stalk, I'm going to give it 6 to 10 inches above the ground before I cut it. And you can see the birds have been loving these seeds. So one of the reasons to leave up this sort of desiccated plant material through the winter is so you can feed the birds. And by not cutting it all the way to the ground, you're giving any overwintering insects inside the stem a more chance to survive through the winter. So I would not come in here and just say, oh, it looks messy, I'm going to cut it to the ground. I'm actually going to leave some of it, tidy it up. I probably will bring in some mulch once I'm done with my cleanup, because any of the seedlings that are germinating that I want to keep, I'll kind of mulch around. But with this kind of garden, it's always a balance between how much soil you leave exposed to encourage the seed bank of things that I might have sown in years past. Like every year I get cow parsley, I get, which is Queen Anne's lace, I get some things that I want to see recurring. And if I always covered the soil, that would be more difficult. But I also get weeds. So I've gotten a lot of clover blow in. I've gotten dandelions, which I don't mind a few of, but probably when I come back in here and get rid of some of this, I'll come in and top dress some of the areas that I don't want to have more of a weed problem. A couple of years ago, I spent a summer in England gardening, and my personal garden style is very inspired by English cottage gardening, where you have a formal structure overlaid with abundant, luscious planting. So the summer in England, of course, was very, very inspiring, and I got a firsthand look at the artistry and amount of time and effort it takes to maintain a garden at that level. Also, in my professional work, I've helped design a lot of fairly grand spaces, not the kind of thing that I have at home. So one thing I've wanted to do is to explore how I can take some of those things from my experience in England and my professional work, and how can I apply that to the average person, myself included. I don't have that much time, I don't have tons of money, and I don't have a staff of gardeners. What can I do at home myself to create the kind of garden that is going to be a magical space for me and my family to love being in? We are now in the kitchen garden, or courtyard garden as we call it. We kind of created the feeling of a courtyard by building some raised beds where there was just previously no division between our driveway and this space. And actually, underneath this lovely crunchy English pea gravel is still asphalt. We just laid a layer right on top and kept rolling, and it's worked great. We've had it this way for 3 years, and we'll see how long it lasts us. But this was a classic example of just work with what you have. So this strange wooden structure here that wraps around the garden was actually already here, and we decided just to make use of it. So we strung lights on it. We put this couch into the nook. We're growing jasmine up the wall, and it creates a sense of enclosure. It's a great structure. We grow vines up this. I start with peas and sweet peas, and then this trellis system here with the bamboo, we grow tomatoes on in the summer. And we call the 2 white leghorn chickens our trouble chickens because they get loose. She'll probably come for a visit here in just a minute. I actually hope she does. But I was really busy this fall. I got behind. So you can see there's tons of stuff germinating in here. It's all going to be some mix of salad, arugula, kale, multiple kinds of kale, chard. When it comes up, we'll have a massive bounty that we'll be able to share. But usually by this time, I have a little bit more going on in here. It is what it is, and we'll enjoy it when it comes. This area we call the path garden. This was the one area that was actually a garden already a little bit when we arrived. One thing the garden will do is to tell you when something needs to be done, like this is baptisia and it's all flopping into the path. So clearly I'm not going to leave this any longer now that I have to walk around it. I'll do something similar in this little area as I did in the cutting garden, just getting rid of some of the stuff. These sea oats, I actually love how they look through the winter, but I have iris stalks that I'll cut to about 6 inches. I've got clematis I'm gonna cut back. One thing I did in here, which was a good learning experience, I planted this Asiatic jasmine as kind of a ground cover under all of the other perennials that are in this space. And it has worked great to keep weeds down. There's almost never any weeds in this, but it does swamp anything that isn't very robust. So I wouldn't recommend it in most cases as a mulch layer, but in this case, it's worked well for me. This structure behind me is a kit garden pavilion that we're currently building. There will be a roof and there will be a bluestone floor on it. So we'll have a granite curb, we'll have vines growing all up it. I might include an illustration of how I see it being just ensconced in blooming vines and extra planting around the edges. Let's talk for a minute about my recap of what I'm going to be doing the rest of this month. And if you are in a similar zone to me, what you could be doing throughout the month of January. One fun thing I discovered when I was at Home Depot a couple days ago is that they're still selling tulip bulbs and paper white bulbs. And I'm not going to plant these tulip bulbs in the garden. I'm actually going to put them in a pot and just see what they do. If they don't work out, I can always hide the pot. And if they do, I will bring it out proudly, display it while they look amazing, and then I can take them away again. Paper whites, same thing. Most people do those for Christmas, but they're on sale now and they're still just as good. You can have some blooms in February if you want to brighten up your indoors. I'm going to pack them in. One thing about a bulb display is that you want them to be super densely packed together. They might be a bit later than ones that would have been sown in the traditional recommended October, November timeframe for us. Every year I do this, and every year I think, oh, what a luxury to be just putting this away. And then every spring, I'm so happy that I did, because it's one of the first things to just look like spring. So if you're anything like me, you are not amazing at taking care of your tools. I'm notoriously negligent. with this. But one thing I love about the Felco pruners is that you can replace the blades. So even if you, because I keep mine outside here, don't let them get rained on usually, but I'm not oiling the blades all the time. And every year pretty much they need a new set of blade and then the spring. So I'm going to do that to get these ready. I use them all the time. They're probably my most favorite garden accessory. Another thing is it's time for seeds. So fun to look through a paper catalog. I know that's probably an old person thing to say, but it's so fun. I'll probably do a mixture of veggies and flowers. And that is more of a February task to start those, February, March, maybe a little bit in April. But to get them ordered before they sell out, that is a thing to do in January. Out in the garden, we already talked about, I've got a lot of cleanup to do. I will be doing pruning back, a little bit of mulching, just tidying up everything. And the last thing is just to plan and dream. That's the most fun thing about January, that there really isn't a ton of work outside begging you and requiring you to be really busy outside. So you get to just sit by the fire if you're lucky enough to have one, or on your couch, cup of tea, cup of coffee, and just think about what you might want to do in your garden for the coming season. It's all hypothetical, it's all free in January, so nothing takes any effort or time and is just pure fun at this time of year. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you back here in February.